So how have you and the family been, Phil?
Yeah, good pal. Kids keeping me busy. But yeah, all good, mate. I can't grumble.
Good man, good man. So before we get stuck into your rugby story, mate, where was home for you and who did you grow up with?
Yeah, so my hometown's Huddersfield. I grew up in council estate there called Walpole, and it was nice small community. Even though it was rough as toast, but yeah, good community.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, mate, Huddersfield can't half. Like, produce some talent, can't they?
Oh yeah, mate. They've produced some very good players. Just to name a few: Henderson Gill, Andy
Yeah.
Farrell, Darren Fleary, Jermaine McGilvray. Some really belting players.
Yourself? You can say it, mate. You can
Oh
say.
no.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I appreciate for some listeners and viewers that might not know, Huddersfield is actually the birthplace, isn't it, mate,
Yeah.
of rugby league? But how was you introduced to rugby of any form, and where was it you were introduced to?
Yeah, so it was a random one, really. I used to see a lot of elder kids playing like rugby down the road. And there was this bloke we called him Mister, and his real name was Pete. I don't know why we called him Mister, but his real name was Pete. And it was he played at the News. It was called the News of Magpies at the time.
Right,
And he took me up training one time, and from that day, I absolutely loved it.
right, mate. So what was it for you that kept you going?
Well, it was like a community thing. Like I made some new friends
Yeah,
around different people, and to be honest, I just enjoyed the environment straight away.
right,
Really loved it. Yeah.
yeah. And so was that something that your junior school done, mate, or was you strictly having to just play at club level at this point?
Well, I was a bit of a naughty kid at that time, so
Right.
I wasn't allowed to play rugby. I wasn't allowed to play rugby at that time. So it literally, mate, it was strictly at club level.
Right.
But because I was like such an overactive kid at that particular time, my mum made me box as well. So I was boxing and playing
Okay.
rugby. Yeah, so those two things kind of simmered me down a little bit and give me a little bit of focus, really.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So as a kid, mate, how did you find it flicking between like a team discipline and an individual discipline? Because when things are hard, mate, you played at a much better level than me. You can sort of lean on teammates, can't you? Because if one speaks, it's a domino effect of an action instead of
Yeah,
just speaking for the sake of speaking. But when you're getting knocked about in the face, mate, and you've got to try and regather your thoughts,
yeah.
how did you flip between the two disciplines?
Yeah, so good question. Like with boxing, it, even though you're on your own in the ring, it's still a team sport. So, like at the particular time when I was boxing, like you're in the gym with everybody, we're giving each other tips, we're talking through strategy and stuff like that. And even though you're in the ring on your own, I had my coach there that was telling me things what I needed to do. So yeah, you're on your own, but you're still within a team. It's still the same sort of principles. You're just executing it on your own. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, like you say, within the team, when you when your back's against the wall and you're doing 5 sets in a row, tackling on your line, you've got your mate to cut you from. You can say I'm fucked here, but he can sort of
yeah,
cover you. Yeah. So, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
when you're in that environment, mate, without even probably knowing it, because you're still, like you said, you're still really young at this point, aren't you? Because for a big fella, like no offense, your footwork's really good. Do you
yeah,
reckon the
no, cheers,
both
mate.
sports complemented each other?
1,000,000%, mate. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely. Because my coach at the time with the boxing, he was heavily on skipping, heavily on making big fellas move. So I couldn't stand there. I was not allowed to use my strength because I've always been naturally strong. So he wouldn't allow me to kind of go in and bulldoze somebody. I had to pivot. I had to move. I had to be on my toes. I had to use my brain rather than sort of me brute strength,
your
really.
brawn.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So no,
He just
yeah,
made you
massively.
multifaceted, really, Phil, didn't he? You
1,000,000%.
couldn't
Yeah,
over rely on something. Yeah, you
yeah,
got like several balls to your string, sort of thing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But you weren't to be messed with then transitioning into high school, mate, was you?
Oh, and like I said, when I was younger, I was just a bit unruly. So I think it was given from where I was from. Like you had to be able to
Yeah.
protect yourself. If you couldn't protect
Mm.
yourself, you was cannon fodder really. So yeah,
Yeah.
I had no
But we
choice.
didn't
So
have Xboxes to hide behind, did we?
ah,
That's the thing, innit? That's
well,
the thing,
yeah,
mate.
yeah,
Once you were out, you didn't even go in for your tea, did you? Because you wouldn't be allowed
no,
back out. So
yeah,
you stayed
exactly.
out, didn't you? Yeah, yeah.
But my mum was kind of ruthless though. I remember just before I started boxing, I was out playing with my mates, and it was quite late actually. Where I used to live, we had this community centre, and the local bully came round and he battered me and spat in my face. Anyway, I went running home to my mum and I said, "Oh, this lad just battered me and spat in my face." She went absolutely mad. She went, "You better get outside now." She
Yeah.
beat me, number one.
Yeah.
She went, "You better
Yeah,
get outside there now and lever him, because if you don't lever him, I'm going to lever you when you come back in." I had to lever
yeah.
him.
No,
so,
do you know
so
what though,
yeah,
mate? That's how
yeah.
it was, wasn't it? It was
Oh,
go
mate,
out
one
and
million
get it
percent.
dealt with. Yeah,
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
yeah.
Yeah,
So how did you
yeah.
find the transition into high school then, mate? How was that for you?
High school was a little bit better for me because again, playing rugby for Newsham, that's where I went to high school. So all my rugby mates were there. So
Right.
if if I was going out of line, I had one of my mates to pull me back in, like, "Phil, what are you doing that for?" Because there was like a different demographic than me. Like, they wasn't from the rough estates. They was good kids. Not saying that the
Yeah,
people at higher rank weren't good kids, but it was just a different
yeah.
mindset.
No,
So
I get it,
I'd be
mate. Yeah,
yeah, I'd be kind of pulled away from that, and they'd be like, "Phil, we've got a game on Sunday, and you're gonna do that. Like, what are you doing that for?" So they kind of pulled me back in. So that's where a lot. That's what I loved about rugby, because even though we wasn't on the pitch, we wasn't training, and we was out of that environment, we were still a family, and I loved
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah. Not many. Well, I say not many. I've not been involved in many, but I can't imagine there's many sports quite like either go the rugby for that, really, mate. If I'm honest.
oh, it's unique, mate. It is unique,
Yeah,
and don't get me wrong, we've got some very interesting characters within our game, and
yeah.
we've
It
got
makes
quite
it
a
what
few
it is, though, doesn't
stories.
it?
Of course, it
Yeah,
does, mate. And this is why
yeah,
This is why the sport's so unique, because we produce people like that. You know.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a shame we don't put them at the front of the game, innit? Like
yeah, it is, mate.
it's just now getting embraced, isn't it? And but maybe, well, it's never too late. But rugby league are a bit behind in promoting the players rather than like corporations sort of thing. Or that's how it feels.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
It's it's quite selfish in that respect, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
the corporation take the majority of it rather than the individual, the players. And it should
yeah,
be the players. Like Australia, it's player led. You know,
yeah,
and that's why we're so far behind, because the players are the driving force. Where you've got bloody 50-odd-year-old businessman that's never played the game in his life, but because he's got a lot of finances, is the head of the game, pushing the game forward.
yeah. And
So
you're not asking necessarily anyone to have played at the highest level. Just understand what it takes to play,
that's it.
isn't it?
Yeah,
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 and just face whether it's like your Saturday League, Northwest Counties, or Yorkshire Counties, or whether it's a Super League players. All the sacrifice isn't as big at the lower end, but they're still making them to well top the top end up, aren't they?
1,000,000%. And you know what? I think the amateur game gets a bit disrespected, because
Yeah,
it's. I went back and played amateurs with my mates, and I would say it's more physical than Super League in some respects, because the collisions are a lot harder because the game's slower.
yeah.
And
Get away
we
with a bit more as well, big
get
lad.
away with a bit more. Of course we do. Yeah, few elbows and
Dark
that.
arts. But it's right
Yeah,
though, mate, and it without the players there's no game, is there?
absolutely
You've
not,
got to
mate.
showcase the
Yeah,
best players as much as you can, but
yeah. And we don't do
hopefully
that.
we'll get there. No, not
Yeah,
enough, is it? Not enough. And
yeah,
do you know what the example was, mate? Sorry, I'm ranting on it here, but do you know the World Cup in COVID when the Aussies said no, we
yeah,
should have played it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should have
Definitely.
played it.
Yeah.
It just give them too much onus, didn't it? And they
Yeah,
know they
yeah.
can dictate like
Yeah.
the scope, don't they?
And it's sad, mate. It is. It's really sad, to be honest.
Yeah. So when you were at high school then, mate, back to you and your journey now. So was it both colds or was it just one cold?
Yeah, so like I said, going back, I actually started at Huddersfield Rugby Union. That was my I started there first before I went to News and Panthers, and it just wasn't the same as rugby league. So yeah, I think I was only there for a brief spell. I think I was like a couple of months, 3 months or so, and then I went up to News and Panthers, and then I never looked back. Then
And what was the standard like at school compared to club rugby?
uh, okay, a little bit lower than club rugby because we had a really good team. Like we was going all over the country playing Wigan and Hull and all sorts. So our club level was a really good standard. So again, the our school team was good because all the News and Panthers players were playing for News and High School as well. So we was the best in Yorkshire.
Right, mate.
Yeah.
So when you're playing, I imagine there was a few big games as a kid then, mate. And is it something as a kid you might take for granted because you might have realised how good you was?
Uh, yeah and no until we played. I think it was. I don't know if it's Wigan St Jude's or Hull Westall, and yeah, it was Westall actually, and they had Graham Horn, Danny Hill. They had a really good team, and it was almost like match for match. And we've never been like against a team that's matched as match for match, and it was an eye opener. And we said, well, the coach said to us after the game, he says they're the levels that you've got to kind of get to because they put 20 past us, and
Right.
that's never happened to us before. So yeah, so
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
no, sometimes not being in games like that regular, mate, it is can be panic mode, can't it?
One
You
million
look
percent.
round and it's yeah. Right. So when was there any sort of like town team or service area like that for you, Phil?
Yeah, so I played for Yorkshire, um, Barla counties. Who else did I play for? Huddersfield Town team, um, England, England under 16s as well. And I went on one of them Barla camps, and it's you go down to Loughborough University, and you get coded like out of like the best in the country. And I think I was one of the six at that point, best players in the country. I think it was me, Kevin Brown, Brad Atwood, who else was Jamie Maxfield, Liam McGovern. He played at St
Oh yeah.
Helens. Can't
Are you
remember who
from
the other
Withers
one was.
McGuff?
Yeah, quality.
Yeah,
He was quality. He was a quality player anyway, but he was quality as a kid.
yeah. Well, it was that team. I think like out of that Alton Hornets team, he played in all but one got signed, which sort of, like you
Yeah,
said, says it all, doesn't it? That was
yeah.
probably
It
the
was
same
class.
case with yous, though, wasn't it, mate? If yous are doing jobs on people regular,
Yeah,
there must have been scouts at your games pretty much every week, maybe.
yeah. There was. Um, yeah, I think I got snapped up for Huddersfield when I was 12, 13 on
Right.
scholarship. And then I signed my first contract for I started at Leeds then. I went to Leeds first. Um, and then didn't work out at Leeds and came back to Huddersfield.
Right. So, do you think, like, hindsight's a wonderful thing, Phil, which we've no doubt we'll mention a few times when we get later on in the career, but do you think 12 and 13 is a bit young?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was I
Yeah.
was I was too young. I think so anyway, personally.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the game. I was still a kid, and then you're thrust into this environment, that it's almost like a rabbit in headlights a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I can imagine, mate, because it's the throwing gear at you, getting pictures. You're probably like walking around the club, aren't you? You're playing county stuff as well. So that's when like lads from other boroughs start realising who you are. I know you're making
Yeah,
an impact on a Sunday anyway, aren't you, with Newsom?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's when you're hitting them levels, mate. It's not just about playing anymore, is it? It's
No,
about
that's it.
winning and doing something proper with it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
And again, I don't think I understood what it took to be a professional at that particular time, and also moving on as well later on in my career.
yeah. Right. So, how did you find school? Was it something you enjoyed, mate, or was it social?
Social, yeah, social, mate. Like
Yeah,
I'm not. I wasn't academic at school. I hated it. All I wanted to do is play sport and rugby and be around my mates, and it was more social. Chasing girls as well, and as every young lad does. So, but yeah, no, that's literally all I was bothered about, mate. That's it.
yeah. So, as a young lad, then, mate, you just mentioned you made the move to Leeds. Well, how
Yeah,
did that come about, and was it an amicable chat with Huddersfield? Was the okay about it?
yeah. Well, the reason why I wanted to go to Leeds was because I had someone who I looked up, Marcus Centelay was playing there, Andy Farrell, Darren Fleary, all them lads that I kind of looked up to, and I thought I'm gonna follow suit. And there was two other lads from Huddersfield that I knew was playing there called Marvin and Mark Cox, and they were telling me all about Leeds, how they look after you, and stuff like that. And I thought that sounds like a bit of me. That I think we was playing Stanningly in a I think I can't remember, it was Yorkshire Cup or something, Newsland v Stanningly, and Nick Scruton was playing that, and he was playing bloody stand up at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I played in that game, and a scout came up to me called Bob Pickles and said, "What would you fancy coming over and having a chat about potentially coming to play for Leeds?" And I went for a meeting with Bob and Dean Bell, and everything what Dean Bell was saying was great, and I just ended up signing there.
Yeah. And so, quite early on, mate, without realising it, as much as you're turning it up on the field, you're starting to see the business side, aren't you?
Yeah,
But without probably understanding and realising, because at this point, you still, though we're on about we're playing for winning, if you didn't enjoy it and love it, mate, you wouldn't be doing it, would you?
one
And
million
at that
percent.
age, you're
Yeah, yeah,
still allowed to do it for that, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. And I don't think I really enjoyed it at Leeds because again, it's professional. It's
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing with my mates, like having a laugh and playing with mates, and I still didn't understand the concept of being professional. Turning around and being professional, and again that sort of hindered me moving forward. So in the end, we Leeds.
Yeah. So position wise, mate, are you playing in the spine at this point? Or are you playing 9 or 13?
Yeah, I was playing 6 and 13, so predominantly
Nice.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And how have you seen that role change it just in your career?
Well, yeah, I think it's changed, but especially the 13. The 13 was like probably the link between the halfback and the forwards, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A good 13 can fill anywhere really. And I think it's changed massively. Like now in Super League, the 13 is just another prop forward. Where when you had Skullthorpe and Farrell and all them lot, they could also ball play, pre and post line, and throw a 30-meter pass out. And there's basically like a forward but a fullback. And that's what I liked. I love the fact to be able to just roam about the field and play with my eyes up rather than play with structure.
Yeah.
And it's that moving forward in my career kind of got like that. I was hindered with that as well.
Yeah. Sort of got sucked out of here a little bit, mate.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, mate. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, I think your versatility can bite you on the arse as well, can't it, mate?
Yeah,
Especially if
yeah,
you do a good job in a position that you're just doing a favour in rather than what you're
yeah,
favouring, if that
yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it does, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you returned to Huddersfield, was it like going back home sort of thing? Was it an easy thing to do?
Yeah, all my
Yeah.
mates are playing there. Like I had my cousin Ben Feehan playing there, and all my old user Pampers, Andy Boothroyd, a lad called Tom Senior, Chris Lodge, another lad who used to play at Newsland with, and then we had Paul White, and then at that particular time as well, we merged with the London Broncos, So we had lads like Danny Thomas that was playing for London Broncos at the time come to Huddersfield. A lad called Joe Mabu played for London. I think he was London Scholars coach. So some really good lads, and it was a team that I kind of thrived in because we played with our eyes up. You know, you had Whitey who had pace to burn. You know, he'd see a gap, he'd go. It's not about structure. It's about what plays what's in front of us. And then our coach at the time, Lee St. he was all for play with your eyes up. And it helped with having, obviously, the head coach at the time was Tony Smith. So
Yeah.
he embedded wanting to, you know, like play with your attributes. You know, he loved that, you know, showing a bit of character on the field, you know, showing what you're about rather than being robots. And yeah, Tony Smith was amazing, and so was Lee St.
In them sort of positions, mate, you've got to be an organizer. I mean, you've got to be willing to tell people what to do and when to do it. Is that something you already had in you, do you think, or did you learn that on the job?
I already had it in me, but I had to learn how to articulate it better because I, at that particular time, was a bit of an emotional person as well, and I'd rant and
Yeah.
rave, and I'd say exactly what's on my tongue. I'm not really thinking about the repercussions of it or how it might be perceived by somebody else. So yeah, no, and again, as you get older, you mature, you sort of see
Obviously do.
sort
Yeah.
of like, you know, where you're going with it. So yeah, no, like to answer your question, yeah, I had to definitely learn on the job.
And
Yeah.
when are they some of your favourite coaches that allow you to play, Phil, and don't limit what they want from you?
Yeah, so like some of my best coaches I've had, like you just said, but not let me play to my strengths. So Ian, like when I was playing at Swinton, Paul Kidd, Ian Watson, you know, Ian Watson was instrumental to me sort of turning my fortunes um, because of you know the things he used to say to me and allow me to do. Same with Lee St. Same with Tony Smith. I didn't appreciate him at the time when I was at Huddersfield because I didn't really get what he was trying to ask me. And again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. I didn't understand what it took to be professional, and it is an educational thing. And there's a lot of players out there that kind of don't understand that either.
It's hindsight, and as I said, we'll probably say
Yeah,
it numerous times because
yeah,
we all learn on the job, don't we? But
yeah.
it's a wonderful thing, mate. Hindsight. So when the pro forms come round, mate, and you're leaving school, I know I think you've semi answered it anyway, but was rugby what it was going to be? Like that's all you looked at from school? Because when the academy comes round for viewers and listeners that might not know, Phil, it's like an open shop for you, basically, isn't it,
Yeah,
mate?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Rugby. That's all I've ever wanted to do is play rugby. Like my idol was Errol Hanley, and I based my game around him. Like many
Yeah,
others, like just
yeah,
like an outstanding specimen. You know, I idolized him. So that's who I wanted to be.
yeah. And then, are, are you far from the player you want to be at that age?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
see
yeah,
6 and 13 as where you really want to nail down?
13's always been the position I've always wanted to play because you know it suited my game, suited my personality as well and my traits. You know, like at that particular time, I was a lot faster then. You know, I had a lot more youth on my side, let's say. And I can. Sorry, I'm going to say could. I can actually read a game.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I need to be in the forwards because it's a tough game, I'll do the hard yards. I don't mind. I'll stand up in a tackle and offload. Where if I need to show silky skill, I had the attributes to me as well.
Have it all, mate. But if you don't know how to use it, useless, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So
exactly.
when the chat come round to sign permanent with Huddersfield as a pro, mate, how did them chats go in? And who else showed a bit of interest in you?
So at that time, I had quite a few clubs interested. I Leeds come back knocking. Bradford, Saints was interested. But again, because I was enjoying Huddersfield Academy that much at that particular time, I just wanted to be there. So I signed a first team contract with Huddersfield, and I joined Tony Smith's first team squad. And that time we was in the National Leagues at that time. And Tony Smith pulled me in the office and said that I had to choose whether or not I wanted to be a world-class player or you just want to be average, because he said I've got all the attributes, but these are the words, you've just got to understand how to be professional and how to implement it into day-to-day life. So anyway, I signed and I got in the first team squad. Within 3 months, I made my debut against Batley at 6 in the, I think it was called the Buddies Cup or something. I can't bloody remember the name of it. And did quite well. And then at that particular time, I had some good mentors around me in that first team squad at the time. I had Chris Foreman, Dave Atkins, who was instrumental as well. Jeff Wittenberg, absolute legend. So there was some really, really good blokes around me that was sort of mentoring me as well.
Characters, mate. And did they bring you in and like make your 18th man? So did they give you little tasters, like in the side, out the side, like show you how it can be if you do certain things, like Tony said?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And I was always around this. I was around the squad, and Tony tests my character. So, as every young lad does, you pick up the cones, you do the donkey work, you do certain things what you probably don't want to do. And because I enjoyed being around that team, because there was some really, really nice lads, that I didn't mind doing it. I didn't mind helping out. I didn't mind going on the bus just to be on the bus, and hover around some of the more influential players to learn off them. And yeah, no, it was great.
That's what it's about, mate, isn't it? That when he says you've got to learn how to be a pro, that's how you do it.
Yeah,
Simple as, isn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah.
So how did the move to Swinton come about? What was the chat behind that?
Yeah, so again, I played a couple of seasons then after with Huddersfield. I became back to Super League, and in Super League I had 2 seasons there, and then I think Tony Smith moved on. I don't know where he went at that time, but then John Sharp came in, and I played a few games under Sharpie, but I didn't really gel with him, or he didn't gel with me, and I ended up going out on loan. And I went to Swinton at the time, and absolutely loved it, because again, I had good people around me, Marlon Billy, Ian Watson again, and a whole host of others, and it just brought me out the shell once again. And that year, I think I got Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year in the National League.
Right. So do you know when? Because you're still young at this point, mate. So how do you adapt to both playing styles? Because, like you said, I think without being rude to anybody, mate, as you drop the standard, it gets a bit slower. But I imagine it gets, like you said, a bit more physical, and the intricacies really take hold of the game. Then, don't they?
Well, but that was a blessing in disguise for me a little bit, because I learned so much because the game was slower. I had a chance to kind of have a real look at what's going on. And when you've got old experienced pros around you, like he was Paul Southern that was playing with me as well. He was one of my prop forwards, and Wes Rogers. So I had 2 really tough men. So when it come down to psychology, I'm learning from the best again with them two. Then I've got, Watto directing play. And when we talk about the small detail, he's a very detailed person. And again, when you've got players like that around you, it just makes your job so much easier, because then you don't have to worry about anybody else. You can just sort of, like, if you see something going on, you can articulate it however you feel, and then go back into the structure.
And you're someone that enjoys that breakdown of a game, Phil. or would you rather have just been left to go and have a go?
No, because I like to play within in a team structure, obviously, because it's a team first mentality. But yeah, no, I like to sometimes go without structure, and if there's something in front of me, I like to go for it. But obviously, if it's not for the team, then you can't really do that.
Yeah. And when you're in and around them pros, mate, and you go into put some places that aren't the prettiest, aren't the best pitches, how does a young lad adapt to that?
Well, I think it humbles you as well because obviously, coming from Huddersfield, you're playing at St Helens, Leeds. I know Castleford's not the best, but it's better than bloody turning up at Hull Dockers or something on in the Challenge Cup. You know what I mean? You know, so. But yeah, I think it humbles you. To be fair, it brings you
Yeah,
right back to your roots. And like I say, I learned so much at Swinton, so much.
yeah,
Mentally, and quite a lot about myself as well because I had to do a bit of soul searching. Whether or not I wanted to be a professional Super League player again, or do I want to remain at this level?
yeah. Right, mate. It's just for a young man who's finding his way in the game. It is another early test for you, isn't it? It's the travel.
Yeah, yeah,
It's showing dedication because sometimes when you're on loan, mate, you train with your parent club, don't you? And then
yeah,
do maybe like a captain's run or a session of captain's run and game day.
yeah,
So it's like you don't know who you've upset by taking their place. You don't
yeah, yeah,
necessarily know structures or playing styles of individuals unless you've seen or played against them. So
yeah.
it is something just to keep you on your toes, Phil, isn't it?
Of course it is, mate. And again, it goes back to character, doesn't it? Like how much do you want it? And it was a little bit awkward, obviously. Like when you're going back to Huddersfield, you're just a spare part.
Yeah.
You just whether or not you're just in the Reggie's side, getting opposed, run against you, but you just try to be the best teammate. And at that particular time as well, like I said before, Huddersfield has some great lads as well. So I want to try and help them progress as much as I can as well.
Mate, and was you someone that could be patient, Phil, or did you go and look for an early touch or an early tackle?
Oh no, I had to get in the thick of the action.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
straight up.
yeah, I had
Yeah,
to get into it, mate. Yeah, I was very impatient to be honest. To answer your question,
yeah,
because that sort of like that sort of like woke me up to be honest. Like, and
yeah.
getting the first early touch of the ball and getting that altercation or that's what I determine whether or not if I have a good or a bad game. Sometimes,
I can imagine because you can't hit them eyes every week, can you? Of like quarter, semi-final, big playoff games or whatever. Sometimes it's just impossible to not look, and it's just
yeah,
about what you can find to climb in it, mate. And I imagine an
yeah,
early shot or a big caddy can help you out with that
yeah,
at
definitely,
your level, mate.
yeah.
Well, at my level, it's a dig on the chin, and if you're not seeing Tweety Pie, mate, you're on, aren't you?
Like I said,
Right,
mate,
mate.
amateur level, it's tough as mate. Honestly,
Yeah.
people, people, I don't think it gets enough respect. Honestly, it's tough as.
Yeah. Principle wise, mate, it's probably not far off. A lot of champ players could play Super League, but they can't afford to take the pay cut, can they?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
that's fine. So yeah,
Yeah,
like you can't
yeah,
you can't not work because the money's too good to do it semi pro part time and work. And a little bit probably like at the lower end, they can't go semi pro because if they get hurt, they don't got no work. So it's not
exactly.
that they're not
Yeah,
good enough, mate, is it? It's just the pyramid doesn't allow it.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of good players that have just that they've just not had the opportunity to showcase their skill, and
yeah,
they're playing amateur. And some of them players would have been probably England internationals. Is it Andy Ackers? He was playing amateur at one point, or
yeah.
he was playing semi-pro. And look at him
Semi
now.
pro at Swinton. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
He's an England international, just signed at Leeds.
That's it. Akko was
Yeah,
the same. So Chris Atkin at Salford played it with the Rugby Union with us, and then went to Swinton with Andy Ackers, and about
yeah.
4 or 5 of them got signed. Same with I think Chris Hankinson went to Wigan,
Ah,
didn't he?
yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
good
So
players,
there
mate.
is plenty out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like you said, it does come down to opportunity sometimes. If you develop late, Phil, you slip through the net, unfortunately, don't you?
yeah, yeah. You do.
But it's not the end, obviously, because you see people like the names we've just mentioned climb the
Yeah,
ladder, mate, and that's great to see because it sets. Same with the Tyler Dupree in it.
Tyler
He's
Dupree.
gone
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
yeah. So he's like slipped the net and then managed to work his way through the pyramid. But there's definitely talent out there. People don't stop playing. Though
No,
the
exactly.
academies can do that, mate, can't they? If they spit you out, they can take the love out of it for you, can't they? And it takes a little bit
Uh,
to get them back.
yeah, exactly.
So Hull KR was next, was it, mate? And why was it Hull KR? And did anyone else wanna show you the money or
Yeah. Oh, Hulk. Yeah, yeah. Um, that was just like a progression to get back to Super League. Um, it never really worked out for me at Hull KR because I just did not get on with Justin Morgan. Just didn't see eye to eye, and again, my style didn't align with what he wanted, so kind of struggled there in and out of the team. I just didn't, yeah, I just didn't really enjoy it there, to be honest. And then I had a lot of personal stuff off the field that was going on as well, so it just my head wasn't in it at that particular time.
yeah, mate? If you're distracted at home and that, I don't want to speak for you. If you're it shows in your game, Phil.
Yeah,
It's inevitable,
yeah,
isn't it, mate? So do you know
yeah.
when you don't see eye to eye with someone? Sorry to interrupt you, then, mate. How are them chats? Do you go and knock on his door and say, "Can we have a chat?" Or do you have to wait for him to approach you? Or
I'm a quite straightforward person, so I always want to speak to him.
yeah,
But it's the conversations we had. They was pretty pointless, really, because even though I'm speaking to him, he wasn't ever going to change his mind. And a lot, some of it was my fault, but I think other parts of it, he didn't want to get to know me, and I must have. I think I left a bit of a bitter taste in his mouth, so his opinion would never change with me. And
yeah,
we had quite a few conversations about that, but it's unfortunately I never got to showcase the best of me at Hull KR, and um, a great club to play for. The fans was amazing, but I just that's one of my regrets that I couldn't showcase what I was about there.
yeah. And part of the reason I do this, mate, and a little bit of it is you're more than just a player, though, mate, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's a big life away from rugby.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that massively did tell its tale as well.
Yeah.
Sorry about the
No, it's all
crazy
right.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's not. It's like not getting to know you would have. So if he'd have got to know you, sorry, he would have understood that though.
yeah,
And sure, like
yeah.
I think fans, I think sorry to interrupt you again, mate. I think fans think that it's all hunky dory, Phil, don't they? And that
No,
they go, oh, do you know what? If you're suffering a bit, have a week off here, mate. Come back on Monday, new and refreshed, and we start again. That shouldn't
yeah.
how it works, is it?
No, it's not, mate. And as a rugby
Yeah,
player, you're sort of conditioned to think like you are a robot, like you don't have emotions or you can't have anything outside of the sport that's going to hinder your performance. And at that particular time, I had multiple things going on, but there was only a couple of people that understood and that I could kind of speak to. Because back in them days, there was no such thing as mental health, and
no, yeah,
there's none
no,
of that. You had to kind of deal with it, and
yeah,
and don't get me wrong. In some respects, I do think that you do kind of have to sometimes just suck it up and carry on, and just kind of go through the bad times because obviously then develops moving forward more positively, doesn't it?
yeah.
But yeah, no, he didn't want to get to know me at that particular time, and unfortunately, it resulted in me leaving. Then in the end,
Mate, and where does that leave you at that point? Are you looking at walking away from the game? Are you in a good enough place to know that you can really kick on if someone gives you an opportunity?
yeah. Well, I already put in steps for at that particular time to life away from rugby because I hated rugby then. I had enough. I wanted to kind of finish. I didn't want to play anymore, and I think I was a little bit depressed actually because of what was going on. So my mind wasn't on playing rugby at all. So I was in the nightclub game. I owned a nightclub in Huddersfield, and a few pubs, and I was more bothered about that. So I was drinking all the time and socializing, and I wasn't really bothered about rugby.
Yeah. That's some industry, that though. It takes a lot of commitment, doesn't it? Like you've said, not just one pub, a couple of pubs. You got a nightclub there.
Tough, mate. It was so tough, honestly. So after I left Hull KR, I went back to Swinton, and I think it was Steve McCormack then that was coaching, and Steve's great fella. And I said to him, I said, look, Steve, I said, it's going to be difficult for me to fully commit because of what I've got, but I'll do my best. And like on a Friday and Saturday night was my busiest nights, and I'd finish work at say 4 o'clock in the morning, walk around the corner and get a McDonald's breakfast, and then get ready to go play rugby. So yeah, that was my preparation. So yeah.
But again, mate, it's what viewers, listeners, fans won't get. That's just where your life was. If it's bringing in a wage, mate, it's what you've got to do, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Is it something
and
you
I had
enjoyed the pub game though, Phil? Was it? Did you enjoy it at the time, or was it just a means?
yeah, I did enjoy it, but in the end, it was a means. I
Yeah,
got sick of it. Yeah, I got sick of it. Um, like being a barman, being a businessman, being the boss, being a bouncer, being a cleaner. Do you know what I mean? Like it just
social worker.
social worker,
Yeah,
frigging oh god, yeah. So it was just it got draining in the end, and I thought I sat back and reflected on what I'm doing. Actually, it was only when, um, like I said, I think it was towards the end of when I was playing at Swinton, Huddersfield Giants had a Mad Monday, and I'm good friends with Kev Brown, like been friends for years with him, and he came and had his Mad Monday. They came and had the Mad Monday in the pub, and he walked in and looked at me. And you know, like when someone looks as if they've seen a ghost, he said, "Fuck me, Phil. What have you done to yourself?" Like he couldn't believe it. Like he couldn't believe what he saw because
it's an extra
he was.
pound on your pint, sir.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, you cheeky bastard.
But
So
do you know what, mate? It can creep up though, can't it? Joking aside, and it sometimes harsh love is what it takes, isn't it?
yeah, it did, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I was about 20 odd stone. I was massive. I was massive, unfit, massive. And he said, "What the fuck are you doing?" He said, don't you want to play Super League anymore? Because you're a good player." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm done now, mate. I'm done." He went, "Mate," he said, "you would be a perfect like front rower, like can play 13, like you're strong, just be direct. There's a lot of teams that are like looking for somebody like you." I went, "Nah, I'm done now, Kev. I'm done. I'm done."
You
Anyway,
cheeky fucker, am I six?
yeah, exactly. I'm fucking six. That's it. And then anyway, that Monday, I had a call from Nathan Brown, and he said to me, he goes, "Oh, would you be interested about coming for a trial?" And he said, "I've heard a lot about you, but I'm going to tell you now, before you even think about coming, you're going to have to lose 10 kg." So I'm like, "You cheeky bastard." So I said, "Yeah, no dramas." Anyway, I lost the 10 kg, and I had a meeting with Huddersfield's board and looking to sign and stuff like that. And they said, "Oh, we're not signing Phil Joseph because I've heard bad things about him. He owns nightclubs and this, that, and the other, and we're not signing him." So Nathan got me in at Bradford then.
Also, we helped you
Yeah,
with the next move anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's quite
Uh,
classy, that mate, isn't it?
Quality, mate. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. he's another like Tony Smith-esque Nathan. Like he was just all about wanting to know about you. Like he wants to know if you're a good person, what you can bring to the team, and wants to know about your attributes. And I think that's really important because, like you said before, there's more to life than rugby, isn't there? And there's
Yeah,
individuals under there.
yeah, no, definitely, mate. And I think you, there's more buy-in from you, isn't there? When they've took that
Yeah,
time, mate, you
yeah,
you will run through brick wall for someone, won't you? Because it feels
yeah,
like there's a genuine connection there.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And you feel like they're in it with you as well. So you don't mind running through the brick wall for them.
yeah. And when you get to Bradford, mate, because they're a big club, aren't they? Just because of like what's happened the last few years, they're still massive. Does it feel big when you're there? And do you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it as a second chance?
definitely. And that's
Yeah,
where I sort of really then sort of give my head a shake and thought to myself, do I really want this? And I played some quite good rugby at Bradford.
yeah.
I got injured towards middle of the season, which hindered then me getting in. I was in and out of the team after that because obviously my fitness wasn't great. But that was just the first step to my redemption, I would say.
Yeah, still 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because my old mindset, like I said at the start about understanding how to be professional. I'm a lot older now. I'm a lot wiser, and I know what it takes now. So I was just constantly training. Constantly thinking about what I'm doing and how I can improve, and it did pay dividends.
yeah. And the beauty is, I suppose, again, I don't want to speak for you, mate, is you've lived the two lives. You've lived the rugby life, and then you've
Yeah,
lived the life that you could possibly have if you turn your back, haven't you? So
yeah,
now
exactly.
you know what you want, I'm guessing, mate, and the real aim's there. Yes, I do want to be a Super League player.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just really, really wanted it. I really wanted it, and I knew the other life wasn't for me. Bars and the shit really. Like I didn't want that. I've played this game since I was 8 year old, and I didn't really give myself the best opportunity to get to the heights that I know I could get to.
and if you're going to go back there, you want to be the other side of the bar anyway, with the pound off the pint, don't you?
Exactly, exactly, mate. I want to be the one
So,
talking the shit.
I'm sorry to go back there, mate, and I hope you don't mind. But do you know when times are really good and all these people that blow smoke up your hoop and that are around and you're buying them a pint or you're getting them in clubs or whatever. Do you know when it's the other way? Are they still there, Phil? Did you find that them
No,
people were there, or can you count sort of good friends on one hand, sort of thing?
good friends on one hand, mate. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. The good friends on that. It's quite cliche, but there's a lot of takers in this world, and there's a lot of opportunists, isn't there? And that's
yeah,
what I was surrounded with. The wrong types of people, and it was a good lesson. It's a good lesson that stood me in good stead moving forward. And I don't think any experience is bad. Everything happens for a reason, and if them reasons hadn't happened, I don't think I'd be in this position I am today.
I'm a big believer in that, mate. If it's meant to be, it'll
Yeah,
be, isn't it? And
yeah.
plus, and you just mentioned a little bit of it yourself, but you live and learn, dude, don't you?
Of course you do, mate. Yeah, you're only stupid if you don't learn from your mistakes, aren't you? That's what I
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
No, that's right, mate. So, do you know when you just mentioned you got an injury at the back end there, mate? How would you been with injuries up until that point?
Do you know, I've been quite lucky throughout my career with injuries. I've literally had a broken thumb, a couple of like muscle tears and that. But
Yeah.
that was like my first major, major injury because it was, I did was it grade two, grade three ankle tear. Yeah, I think it was in the game against Leeds, and that was my main, um, the worst injury I've had throughout my career. So I was quite lucky, really.
Yeah. How'd you get your head around that then, mate, when you've not been in that position before?
Yeah, it's quite tough. It's quite demoralising as well. You just kind of got to get on with your rehab and sort of listen to the physios as best you can. But it's hard when you've been playing well before, and then you're seeing players in your position playing equally as well, and then you start questioning yourself how you're going to get back in the team. So yeah, it is hard, but you've just got to sort of trust the process and hope when you get the opportunity next time that you can do yourself justice.
Yeah, but you could have went the other way, mate, because as a kid you play through everything, don't you? And you could have
Yeah,
made something potentially worse or not
yeah,
showed the true Phil. So you've done the
yeah.
right thing in that, mate, and it led to you coming over our way, mate, to witness, didn't it?
It did, mate. It did.
So how did
Uh,
that come about?
Again, Kev, the cheeky bugger, saying, "Oh, that's you not joking."
We've got a fake
No,
pitch. Come and love this.
no. Towards the end of my career at Bradford, Dennis called me and he goes,
Right.
"Oh, how would you like to come over and have a go at Widnes?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And yeah, we just kind of went from there, really.
Yeah, because it's looking at like your career, mate, and definitely watching you at Witness, it looked like you were settled and you were
Yeah,
enjoying yourself. Again,
yeah.
versatility probably didn't do you any favours, did it? I know you got a lot of game time through it, but you were never allowed to nail a position, was you, with us, really?
Not really, no, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which would have been good because again, the culture and the players that we had around there at the time, it was great, and I would say I played some of my best rugby there
Yeah.
because I matured. I was at a good age. I was still fit and strong, and I really, really wanted it. But yeah, my time at Widnes, I adored it.
Um, did it take much to come down, mate? There much to
So,
think about to come to Witness, like, because of the little things we'd had in the past, but we were building a good side there, weren't we? And unfortunately, we didn't kick on, but we did have a really good foundation there, didn't we?
well, Dennis, obviously Kev, James Rule at the time, they sold it to me really well about what they're planning. The biggest hurdle for me was obviously I've got children, so um, it's sacrificing my career to move all the way over to Huddersfield, to kind of cement a career for myself, and potentially not see my children as much as I'd like, So that was the biggest sacrifice I had to do.
Yeah. And what are Cubs like when you talk about family, mate? Did he tend to try and do the bit for you?
Yeah,
Because we
definitely.
all like
Witness
to
was
think they do,
amazing.
don't we? Yeah.
No, I've not got a bad word about Witness because at the time, the person in charge of the players was Sherlock Tim Holmes, who is one
Yeah.
of the nicest people ever. So he's all about family and stuff like that. And he helped me at Witness. That he helped me so much, like with my mental demons that I had, that I was going through, and the support I had there was great, really, really good.
No, it's nice to hear, mate, because I've had a few of the lads on, and lads that you've played with and that, and unfortunately it did sour, didn't it? But
Yeah.
like, at least your memories of Witness are good, aren't they? And some massive results, mate, some really big games with us, and
Yeah,
some great times.
I just love the fact of how passionate the town is about Widnes. It's you don't often see that. Obviously, you've got your Wigan, your Saints, they're equally as passionate. But I don't know when the team are doing really well, the town seems like it's bouncing. And you
Yeah,
don't often see that really. But yeah, no, it was really infectious.
yeah. No, good, mate, and obviously after us, it was time to go to Salford, wasn't it? So,
It
do you know
was.
when? How do you gauge interest, Phil, or how do they get in touch with you? And is the thought process and the decision making difficult?
So I had um I had an agent at the time as well. But because I know quite a few players, well, I know quite a few people within the rugby circle, like they'll just phone you. Hey Phil, you
Yeah,
interested about coming to Salford? Yeah, there you go. Because obviously at the time, Watto was the assistant coach who I knew really well. So it was easy to kind of make that transition, really.
Yeah. And was it like an amicable departure from Witness, mate? Was it a mutual thing? Would you have stayed?
Yeah, I think it was my time. It was my time
Yeah.
to kind of go. But yeah, amicable always. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I say, it's one of my favourite clubs. I enjoyed it. Well, one of my favourite clubs the whole my career. I really enjoyed it there. So yeah, it was amicable. Definitely.
Yeah. And how did you find it at Salford, mate? Was it what you wanted it to be?
It was a bit of a yeah, yeah. It was what I wanted it to be, but it was a bit. Do I say the proper thing? You had Marwan Kukash as the owner, and I think everything was more about money than rather than kind of playing. So
Yeah.
yeah, the I didn't really enjoy it there, to be honest. I didn't like it. I didn't like the setup. I didn't. Yeah, it just wasn't for me.
It's fair enough, mate, isn't it? And
Yeah.
is it is that basically why you decided to make the move to Workington then?
Yeah, I was sort of thinking by that time now I had things in place for life after rugby. So, I was doing all my gas engineering stuff and I was training doing that and my property stuff as well. And so I was looking to wind down now. I was thinking about the next stage rather than sort of progressing further in my rugby career because I knew that I
Yeah.
didn't have long left now.
Must have been nice to do it on your terms, mate, like the training and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it was good that I got a chance to retire in Australia in the World Cup. So that was always going to be my goal.
Yeah. So talk to us, so what was you doing off the field to get ready for being no longer part of being on the field?
So I was doing quite a lot of courses, so away from
Yeah.
rugby, planning, networking, sort of strategically planning for like what I thought was going to be the best fit for me because I had so many different ideas. Because you know, even though I trained for gas engineering first, I wanted to be still within the sporting environment. So I also trained to be a physio. Um, so that was going to be that was my first pick. Um, so I trained physiotherapy. I got qualified and set up a practice, and I did quite well. But then it just wasn't for me. Um, and at that time, I had a couple of properties and whatnot, and I employed this plumber to do my boiler one day, and I was watching what he's doing, and I think to myself, bloody hell, I'm trained to do this. I'm missing a trick here. This is right up my street.
Yeah.
Get me earphones in and just crack on with my job. And
Yeah.
from that day, then I just turned my attention to kind of wanting to be a gas engineer and a good one.
Right. Because I imagine, mate, the first and the biggest battle is winning people over, isn't it? When you meet them, it's pretty apparent. You're very easy
Yeah,
to talk to. You've had to trust people in the past, so you know what that is about and what that means to people, don't you? You've
yeah,
been let down by some people, but you've made friends for life with others through
yeah,
that
exactly.
same pathway, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And it is all when you're in this industry, it is all about being transparent, courteous, clear, and I pride myself on that as well.
So are you someone that loves a brew, mate, for anyone that might be looking at you
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's gotta be Yorkshire tea though, only.
Yeah. So what was when you say you felt it was right and you had the transition in the pipeline ready because you used your smarts, mate. You've had that bad experience away from the sport, haven't you? That
Yeah,
hopefully has set you up into the happy life you've got now and stuff. So
yeah,
was it easy to walk away from the game, mate? Did the body feel right as well as the mind?
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
my body still feels like I could play now. Like I went back and played sevens. Like I, I
You
said this
bugger.
the other day. I bloody did. Yeah, I know.
Sevens.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know. It was crazy. But yeah, no, my body still feels really good. But I just felt like personally, I needed something else. I needed something to, like having kids and a family. With professional sport, you don't know when your time's up. Like we've alluded to before, it just takes the coach to have a bit of taste about you, then you're out. So I just needed that security, and that's why I felt it was personally right for me.
That's it. You can go Dubai when you want now as well, mate, can't you? Doesn't just have to be over
Exactly,
Christmas, does it?
exactly,
Right,
exactly,
mate.
mate.
So, how have you found life since rugby? Because I follow you. I've married you to come on and that, and you do
Yeah,
look really happy. The family looks great. You do enjoy yourself, and you've worked hard enough to be able to as well. You don't need that justification from me by no means, but
thanks, pal.
y- your journey has definitely set you up to enjoy yourself now, mate, hasn't it?
Yeah, mate. I've had a real roller coaster ride with life and with my journey as well. It's not been easy, but I would not change a thing because it's built so much resilience, so much robustness that I can now pass on to my children.
Yeah.
That those learnings and yeah, I'm very very blessed and very lucky. I've got I've got beautiful kids, beautiful wife, beautiful family unit, something that I've dreamt of, and have now got. So yeah, it's I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah, no, it's something you've been involved with all your life, mate, but this time the family's your own, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That,
yeah,
that makes sense to you. Like we've all had that,
yeah,
like with sport, team environment, haven't we? But you can
yeah.
you can have your own family away from that now, and it is nice to see, mate, and I'm glad that you're happy.
Oh, thank you, pal.
So I've got a few daft questions for you, Phil.
Hit me.
Right. So any pre-match superstitions?
Pre-match superstitions. Hmm, what do you know? Pre-match. I I had to tape my wrists, and I always had my kids' names on there. That that
Yeah.
was a necessity. I had to have scrambled egg beans on toast for my pre-match meal. Um,
Every time.
I say again, mate.
Every time. Was that like the
Yeah, every
go-to
time.
pre-match? Yeah, yeah.
That was my go-to pre-match every time. And a real random one, I had to relax and watch Harry Potter. So
Yeah.
yeah, really random. I know it's just random. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. I didn't really have many superstitions really.
Right. No, that's probably good, isn't
Yeah,
it, mate? Because like some of the
no,
lads have said in the past, he can take over some people, can't they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right. So this next word, mate, the definition for everybody is totally different. But the toughest player you played with and against.
Right. It's a good question. That's a real good question. Because you can define tough in so many different ways. Like everyone thinks tough, like
Exactly that. Yeah.
Adrian Morley tough. I've played with some really, really tough individuals, and
Like Jermaine's
um,
tough though with what he does, isn't it? Coming out the backfield
yeah,
and
yeah,
at a time he's like an extra forward, isn't he?
yeah. Like I remember, in the amateur days, one of my best mates called Damien Kenchington, and he'd do 60 tackles a game. Like he'd run his legs. Oh, honestly, he'd do all the small things that people don't see. So like people like me could take the glory. And no one
Yeah.
would ever look at him. He'd be busted up every single game. He'd be smashing all the bigger players. But then I'd be running through the gaps because of what he's done. And he'd never get the accolades for that, you see. But, people like me, would always respect those small little things he does for his teammates. So it's hard to say who's the toughest player because it's hard to determine because I've played with so many tough players, but tough in different ways. Like John Clark for the Widnes, amazing. Brett Hodgson that I've played against, epitomize toughness. So it's hard to really say because that's a real good question. So to answer your question, I can't answer it.
That's fine, mate. I'll edit that out about your mate so he doesn't know that you think that highly of him. It's all right, I'll cut it. So your favourite away ground, mate?
Favorite away ground. I like Knowsley Road. I like Leeds. I'd say Leeds. I like the atmosphere at Leeds.
Do you know what? Honestly, that's got to be like high 90% of what everyone says. That there must just be something about playing at Headingley.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you always like look at that for a fixture your target? You know, because you've had a taste of being a home player. Did you ever look at some games like that?
Oh yeah. In particular, obviously when I was playing against Huddersfield, I'd always look at that fixture because I'd always want to play well against them. And I always enjoyed playing against Leeds. And I would. I would. There's certain teams that I did enjoy playing against.
Yeah. Right. So if you could go back, mate, and tell a young Phil something, what would it be?
Don't be a dickhead.
Oh, the jab first and then the haymaker.
Exactly. But no, I wouldn't actually because, like I think, like I said previously, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't have gone through them experiences of what I've had to go through. I wouldn't be where I am today. So no, I wouldn't change anything, mate, at all. I wouldn't change anything. I'm glad I've gone on the journey.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, mate. So if you're out with the lads, mate, and I've stalked you for some reason, the microphone ends up in your hand, what are you gonna give us?
Might sing you a Lionel Richie, I don't know.
Yeah. Are you like are you a sidestepper as well? Get the mic out in the crowd and that.
A little bit,
Yeah. Oh, class, mate. Do you know what? I can actually see you doing a bit of that.
No, but the thing is, I literally cannot sing at all, but I think I can. I think I'm great. I cannot sing, mate. So don't hold me to that at all because I'm terrible.
Right, mate. So I appreciate, like you said, you played with a lot of good players, but if you're willing to, a 1 to 13 that you played with.